Welcome to the Tastecraft Cookbook channel. Let's make a proper version of baked meat with potatoes and onions, also known as French-style meat. We'll start by peeling 1 kilogram of potatoes. Take a boneless pork loin, about 600 to 700 grams. 300 grams of semi-hard cheese, I'm using mozzarella, a couple of medium onions, a bit of nutmeg, 300 grams of cream, 1 tablespoon of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour, 1 teaspoon of mustard, black pepper, and salt. We'll start by making bechamel sauce. For some strange reason, it's usually replaced with mayonnaise. In a small saucepan over medium heat, melt the butter. Add the flour and whisk thoroughly. Without stopping, pour in the cream. You can preheat it to speed up the process. Stir regularly to prevent burning and cook until the sauce thickens to yogurt consistency. While the sauce is thickening, here are a few fun facts. The original version of this dish was invented by French chef Urbain Dubois, who cooked for Count Alexei Orlov. The original used veal, bechamel sauce, and layers of onions and potatoes. After the revolution, the recipe was simplified. Veal became pork, bechamel was swapped for mayonnaise, and cheese was generously sprinkled on top only in later Soviet times. Back then, cheese was seen as a bourgeois luxury, so calling it French-style meat sounded especially fancy. Then, for some mysterious reason, people started calling it de Gaulle meat. No one knows what Charles de Gaulle had to do with this casserole, but it does sound impressive, doesn't it? The sauce has now thickened. If you're using an electric stove, turn off the heat. If it's gas, reduce to minimum. Add half a teaspoon of salt. A few pinches of freshly ground black pepper and a bit of nutmeg. For a final touch, a spoonful of Dijon mustard for some tang. Taste and adjust the salt if necessary. Set the sauce aside to cool and move on to the potatoes. Slice them into pieces about 5 mm thick. Layer the slices in a baking dish. You could just dump everything in and smooth it out, but I prefer a neat, even surface. Pour the slightly cooled bechamel sauce over the potatoes and spread it out. Now let's prep the meat. trim off the silver skin. This matters, because when tenderizing, connective tissue doesn't stretch like the meat, so the edges can tear. You don't have to clean it completely, small pieces won't matter. Slice the meat into pieces about 1.5 centimeters thick. Cover with plastic wrap or a bag to avoid splatter and pound with a meat mallet. A quick tip from Indian culture: when working with meat or messy ingredients, use only your left hand so the right one stays clean. This is also handy when breading: left for wet, right for dry. Pound the meat on both sides. No need to turn it into schnitzel, just tenderize slightly. Season both sides with salt and pepper. That's the bare minimum of seasoning. Lay the cutlets over the potatoes and béchamel. Slice the onions into thin rings and scatter them over the meat. Finish with shredded cheese. A quick note if you're used to the mayonnaise version: that sauce usually goes on top of the meat and onions. Don't do that here, otherwise they'll get sealed in and steam instead of roasting. Cover the dish with foil, making sure it doesn't touch the cheese, or it'll stick. Place in the oven at 180 degrees Celsius, 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. Then remove the foil and bake for another 15 minutes until lightly browned. Done. The cheese should be golden, but not form a hard crust. Serve right in the baking dish. Potatoes and sauce at the bottom, meat, onions and melted cheese on top. A tender cutlet, soft baked potatoes and creamy béchamel. A legendary dish with a French flair, right in your kitchen. Bon appétit!